Okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight for being here. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the district to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on May 13th, 2020, at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted to the office of the district on May 8, 2020, at 9 a.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551041. 551050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. We do have the presence of a quorum present in the boardroom. We have Mr. Houston, myself, Mr. Friedman, and Mr. Avalos. I believe on Zoom we have Mr. Jason and Dr. Lalonde. Is that correct?
He's not on there.
Dr. Lalonde is not. We do have Jason Starkey on Zoom, so that gives us the full quorum. If I may please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carlos.
Yes. Thank you, Father. Again, we thank you for another opportunity, Lord, to come together. Lord, that you will help us in making decisions here. That we know that you're in charge of everything, Lord, and we continue to pray for a lot of district employees and their families, Lord, and board members. That you continue to protect us, Lord, from this COVID virus. And again, praying for each of the cities here, Buena Vista, Port Isabel, and Buena Heights, and South Padre, a prayer of taking care of all the customers. Lord, I just ask you to be with us during this meeting, that we make the correct decisions for our customers here and the whole water district. And we thank you again for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you. Daisy, can I ask if you could turn the one light down? So, is it easier for that one or this one? However, one of them. Jason, is it better with that light?
Oh,
No,
this one's
the other way.
real good like that.
However, is that better?
No,
That'll work.
We have
It doesn't matter.
we have
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Lalonde.
Okay.
Dr. Lalonde is on.
I'm here. Hello.
Hello, for the record, we have Dr. Lalonde joining us on Zoom. So we do have a presence of a full board. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. On item 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. I hope everyone's family is safe, healthy, happy. Things are going well. Hope the same for the board at this time. That gives us an opportunity. If anyone would like to discuss or share anything? Board, staff, public comments? Yes. Mr. Baldovinos.
Good evening, board members. Victor Baldovinos. I had a meeting with our new pre-treatment manager, and he will be actually shadowing our health inspector on the island with the different restaurants, and we're very excited that he's on board, and we look forward to working with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, consider and discuss for possible approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from April 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor? They are. None opposed.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, General Manager's report. Carlos?
Yes, sir. I implemented a memo in there for the board to read before, but we're back to normal working hours. Everybody's working the 80 hours since May the 5th, and we're continuing to do that. Hopefully that it'll get better. It's just that as I put in there, the employees were very happy that the board had made that decision, and the turnout was super good because nobody has been in contact with other COVID people that have acquired that. So we've been safe and sound. All the employees were very happy with the results of everything that's been going on, staying away the 20 hours that they were supposed to stay at home. And it worked out very well, and they are appreciative of the board members making that decision. And on behalf of the employees and staff, we just want to thank you all again for that. And hoping that we continue to see better results than what we saw this week. So today, just today in itself, we did get three employees that are out in quarantine right now for the reason that two of them were with symptoms related, and they were supposed to get tested, one today and one tomorrow morning, getting results. And then the third one is a family member that mingled with other parties that were close to COVID virus that had it, and we're concerned about that one too. So he'll be tested. He was tested today, so we get results on all these three by Friday, and some on Monday. Hopefully everything is okay, and we'll bring him back to work. But scary situations.
Remember
that we're-
HIPAA, remember the HIPAA laws and stuff of, sharing or that sort of stuff. So pay close attention to that.
Yes. So we're on top of.
Hey,
all-
Carlos,
Yes.
all of them have enough sick leave? Are they all okay in that regard?
Yes, they are. They're okay.
Okay.
We've been looking at that, and plus vacation that they have acquired.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we kind of felt that it was kind of early for us to go back, but the decision was made that I had mentioned at the last board meeting that if the county would go back to normal, that's what we were going to do, and that's what we did. So again, hopefully that it doesn't get any worse than what we've seen today. And if anything, we'll bring back anything on an emergency basis that I see that we need to get the board back in, we'll let you guys know. And we'll make decisions at that time later on. But I'll be bringing another update at the next board meeting.
Okay. Just remember confidentiality and HIPAA and
Yes.
discussing it.
Yes. Any questions on that? That you might have? Okay. All right. Moving on, I did provide my evaluation forms for the board, and they're due in May. So hopefully that by the next meeting that you guys can fill out your response to it. I think there's 15 questions in there that y'all need to come up with some numbers. And we'll have executive session at the next board meeting so y'all can discuss it and get it over with. Sooner the better. So,
Okay.
Y'all have any questions? Feel free to call me on the evaluation, because it does have steps in there that you might not understand, but call me and I will let you know what is next to do on it. So if there's no questions, that's all my report for right now.
We'll move along to item 6, Director of Operations report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board,
Welcome.
as you can see on the April report for 2020, there were considerably less callouts than April of last year. It was a slow month, I guess, since everybody was quarantined and most of the, not all the restaurants were closed. So it did give us a chance to do some preventive maintenance, but by the same token, it was slow as far as callouts were concerned. There was 208 less callouts than last year. If anybody has any questions, moving on to the next item concerning pre-treatment and lift station operations. As Mr. Rodriguez stated, we are also very happy that we have a new pre-treatment manager, Frankie Guzman, or Francisco. He is on the audience today. And I provided some pictures of some of the lift stations where they started very enthusiastically cleaning up. And as you can see, the conditions that these lift stations get into by not doing preventive maintenance on a regular basis. Hopefully that will be taken care of now. some of these lift stations were pretty bad. One of the other things that unfortunately I was not able to provide to you, but one of the
Where's lift station 7? Where's that?
the station 7 is at right here at the fingers back there, and as a matter of fact, this station number 24 is on Garcia, by the helipad on Garcia Street. The station 10 is right here on Highway 100. We're going into Laguna Heights. And the station 17 is by Washington Park.
So those are heavy residential neighborhoods.
Yes, sir. As you can see, there's a lot of grease that's being dumped into the sewer lines.
It's kind of probably where we need to stress those letters that just went out that I saw about fogs, fats, oils, and grease, and that sort of stuff.
We did mail out
I saw the mail-outs, but I mean,
5,000.
once you identify which stations are really bad, you can really focus on letting our public know in that area.
Yeah, some of the, as far as some of these other letters, there's a lot of residents that didn't get them or by mail. But our plan is for Mr. Guzman to go out there and meet with the apartment manager or with management at Long Island, so we can distribute those letters and make sure that everybody gets a copy of that letter and understands the problems that we're having with the lift station.
The letter was good, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. If the
Cause the effect.
if the next letter, or when you talked about the pre-treatment manager, get some of these pictures out,
Okay.
because you can see a picture real quick, and sometimes you don't want to read through a whole letter.
True. Very true.
If I may interject, with that in mind, I agree with Mr. Houston. Maybe some social media postings regarding the benefits of being responsible in this regard, picture or whatever we deem appropriate, might be a significant communication tool. Just a suggestion.
Yes, sir. We'll do that. As you can see on lift station 17, that's all grease. I mean, that's.
And that's Washington Park area, you said? 17?
Yes, sir.
That's a heavy residential, all residential. Yeah.
It is, right. And then like lift station number 20 on Dolphin Street, South Pine Drive, there's a lot of trash, whatever it might be. A lot of trash in there.
Some of these are pretty nasty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I started saying, unfortunately, I wasn't able to provide a copy of a pump that they just pulled out of lift station that's over here in Laguna Vista on Mesquite. It's got the pump is torn. I don't know if you want to go.
And then people want to know why they smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was lift station pump that just pulled out.
Okay, hello, Francisco Guzman. We just pulled out a pump today. We've had two pumps in the wet well. One was always on, working, right, alternating, just itself by itself. There was always another one there. I never really got to, I was in charge of that department per se. I was the wastewater manager or assistant manager. But now since I can officially ask the questions, I asked myself, my crew, and like, we got to pull it out. What's wrong with this pump?
What area or pump number was this?
Lift station number 1 on Mesquite Street. Pretty big sized lift station. That pump, more likely we're gonna be confronted with an emergency repair. It's extremely bad, and I'll forward the pictures to Mr. Gomez in the morning as I give my word I would. But the volute or the bottom base of the pump does have a hole in it. It's really bad. It's really bad. And
As a
So-
mop, sticking out.
yeah, what we call in the industry a mop head, it just consists of rags, hairs, whiteys, everything, just coalesced together, combined together. I appreciate the opportunity for the pre-treatment manager, lift station manager. And I just want to show Mr. Gomez, everybody, that via pictures and everything that, you know, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep at it. And I know they're in dire need of it. So I'm going to be handling that.
Thank you.
My crew and I.
Thank you very much.
It's a big job.
Can't do it without the team. So
Sure.
we are going to give it.
Frank, let me ask you, do you have what you feel comfortable getting in these wells and doing the work that you're doing?
Yes.
Do you have the proper gear to be doing all this?
Yes,
Okay.
we do. I know budgets are really constrained right now. We're gonna do what we can with the minimal budget we have. But we do have, as far as safety equipment, we do have the self-contained breathing apparatuses, the tripods, boom truck to lift the pumps up and everything. In the event that we do have to do a confined space entry, we do have the equipment. Gas detectors and whatnot, and but I'll more likely be looking at more towards safety come the new budget. But right now, whatever we can do safety from above ground, we're gonna tackle it.
One of the thoughts that I had in conjunction with what we're doing with the letter was that we could also approach it from an educational standpoint. The reason I mentioned that is, for instance, my wife has these little bags that she buys now, and they're for household, for home use. You get this little bag, it's lined inside, and so what you do is you pour your grease in there that you just used, just regular cat litter. And then after a while, when it gets full, you just throw it in the trash. And that might be a good way that we can approach our customers as well when you're out there doing the job, because that's going to be something that we could take advantage of.
Is that a
And I
product
think-
you buy like retail or something?
Yeah, I don't know where she got them online, but that's something that we could look into, and if maybe Texas Cares could provide us with some information about that, if they have something available. I think Victor, very familiar with them, and he could probably help you with this. Because we're asking a lot of them. We're asking them to change the way they do their daily cooking. And if we can provide alternatives for them, if a small percentage of them take it up, it's to our advantage.
Well, actually today, I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually today, I asked Mr. Gomez, how do I go about posting more things like that, and especially
Victor would be a tremendous asset for us.
best
Trust me.
management practices.
Yeah.
Not only for residential, but for commercial customers as well. And also on our website, I would like to put more items pertaining to not only the commercial customer, but also the residential, because we are confronted with
On both sides, right?
on both, yes, it's
Yeah.
both ends of the spectrum, so
Right.
it's just try to tackle both at the same time and time management. So, no, but
I
appreciate
have all the faith and
opportunity.
confidence in you that you can do the job. Trust me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cameron.
Sir. Thank you. Excuse me.
Moving on to the next item, I provided a picture of the Superior water signs. They're up. Right now, we have 3 of them up. One on Highway 100 as you're coming in front of the water plant there in Laguna Vista. Another one is on Highway 510, a couple of miles right before you get into Laguna Vista. It's where our service line starts or it ends. And then the third sign is up here on Highway 48 as you're coming in from Brownsville. And the fourth one is going up right as you get off the bridge once we get the permit to get it installed here in South Padre Island. And then I also provided a copy. I went into the TCEQ website and I provided a copy of Power where they still have the recognition of Superior Water
Oh, they have my name on there.
Yes, they do.
I said, how or why?
You're the administrative
Okay.
contact.
Okay.
You get the phone call.
Yeah. Would you like your cell phone edit?
Orlando, did Jason have a comment?
No, that was the feedback from,
Oh, okay.
from the mic up there.
And the last thing is the 2019 Consumer Confidence Report. This report goes out on an annual basis, and it has to be posted by June. It's already been posted. Although this year there is an addition to that Consumer Confidence Report, and it comes back from September of 2019, where we failed to notify TCEQ of the chloride readings on our water. The water plant employees, operators, they do daily tests on the chloride, 3, sometimes 4 times a day. But TCEQ wants an independent lab report. The water sample was sent to the lab, although it didn't make it up there somehow, or for some reason it got lost. FedEx never told us, or we never found out about it until it was too late. And so when we contacted TCEQ about it, we told them what we had and what we do, but they still wanted that independent report. So they gave us the option of reporting it at that point or putting it into the Consumer Confidence Report. And so we chose to report it with the Consumer Confidence Report. And that is the extent of my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Move on to item 7, District Engineers Report. Charles?
So the first item we have is just giving an update, this project status for lift station rehabilitation. The left side of our whiteboard, where we did close on the bonds, back in June 2019. And went ahead and put some photos on here so you can kind of get a visual of where all the lift stations are at. And so, we can kind of have the first visual of Port Isabel, second page is in Laguna Vista, and then the third page is the cost breakdown for the projects. The way we had a scope of 14 lift stations, and with funding we had to move some of those over to being funded through a future revenue note. So I don't know if you want to scroll down to the next page. So basically this is our list of what we anticipate to be funded when we do go out for construction. And so basically lift station 1, we are proceeding with that one for design because, obviously with the failures, that's going to need a higher priority than some other spots. So we'll have to find a way to get that in funding line. But at this time, we are going to be receiving 90% design this month, and it'll be ready to go out for construction, just like the lift stations 4, 10, the force main on Woody's Lane, and basically the lift station 15, 17 and its force main, lift station 25 and its force main, lift station 30 is Isabel's decommissioning and rendered deeper gravity main down to Woody's Lane, and then lift station 35 is here for the Isabel Center on Port Road. And then the State Highway 100 is going to be the gravity main, so we can take those private lift stations at Stripes and HEB here in Port Isabel and give them a line to connect to get those pump stations decommissioned. And so, I guess one comment I put on here, I did include the cost breakdown for the lift station 11 force main, and the main reason for that is one of the line items on here was some grit piping improvements, where I guess we had a concern with our new headworks where the grid wash was getting flushed into our plant lift station and causing some failures there. But we were able to just slow down the flow by partially closing some valves to get the flow rate where it needed to be. So we're basically confident now that just by slowing down that flow rate has prevented this problem where we need to modify the piping. So that's essentially taken $76,000 item out of the cost, so we can put it to their use among the lift stations. And so we did have the engineering feasibility report. Oh, I guess project schedule is page 53. And the planning activities in terms of the EFR approval, since those force mains or piping changes, yeah, we can scroll down one more. Let's go one more page. Yeah, so there's our schedule. So the March 15th approval for this completion of the EFR, because environmental was modified for all of our piping, our force main improvements, we're still, we sent letters out to agencies for coordination, pending responses. So we're looking at the planning report being completed by the end of the month. And with that being done, they would release the design funds out of escrow. But at the same time, we're looking at the 90% lift station plans coming at the same month as well. So, we'll get back on track as far as submitting plans for TWDB approval in August, advertising for bids on construction in October, and then have construction done by December of 2021. So that's the schedule that, we're still on for construction. And then the following page is just the comments we got where they did complete the review of the engineering feasibility report. And the one thing that came back is the private lift stations for those businesses and their service lines would be ineligible for funding. So essentially, we would build the main line under this project, and it would be the private customer's responsibility to take their lift station out of service and connect their service lateral to the main. So that would be, the component that we'd have to put on each customer's responsibility.
What do you think that costs? What?
Oh, like as far as their service, I would think it's a relatively minor cost. I mean, for example, if we go to that exhibit, let's see, so this is the layout where the area we're talking about along Highway 100. So if we look at, business number 1 is Stripes, 2 is Tortugas, 3 is Burger King, and then with 4 and HEB, all their lift stations are right along the TxDOT right away. So basically, their service lines are already sitting right next to the proposed sewer main. So their cost is just, filling their lift station up with sand and tying their service line into the lateral. And for 5 at Walgreens and 6 at Amigo Pawn Shop, I mean, their lift stations are at the back of the businesses or on the side. So if they choose to just connect their force mains to the gravity main rather than be fighting against the Laguna Heights, I mean, that would be the extent of their change. So it's nothing major on the private side. And then the other 2 on the north side would be churches, has to figure out how to get connected, and then the Treasure Island gym as well. So those are all the areas that have private lift stations.
Can we compel them? Do they have to do it? Like, hey, if you don't do it, you don't get water service? Is that what happens?
Well, it would be, it's in their best interest because say when we double the size of our Laguna Heights lift station, it's going to change, the back pressure on their pumps, and their pumps are probably going to have a very hard time fighting. They're going to probably end up dealing with pump failures.
I was just trying to get an idea of what it would cost. Is it $1,000 or $5,000? I know we can't hold ourselves to an exact amount, but what a business would be looking towards an expense to plan or think ahead.
Yeah,
maybe it's not the time to say it in public.
Yeah, well, maybe 5,000 to shoot from the hip. I'd have to kind of maybe get some better numbers to it, but I think it would be less than that.
Don't you think that if this is something they're going to have to do, we should start talking to them about it? I mean, if I'm a business owner, especially at this time, I don't want to be surprised. I want a 6-month headway. I think that's proper communication on our part. We got to give people 6 months.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to get their input at this stage. I mean, being that we're looking at having the main line go through the November election, and at least they can start setting up their service improvement and get everybody to schedule everything together.
Yeah, I mean, don't give them, oh yeah, next month you're going to need to do this. Like, it's proper and respectful to do it at this point, I think. So we'll leave that up to you. But can you give us a report on, when you contact them and how it goes? I want to make sure it actually gets done, because that could be some bad PR with some significant businesses in our area if we don't handle it appropriately.
Yeah, I can give a follow-up for the contacts and responses and everything.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah, we definitely need to keep that, because that is a surprise to a lot of those folks, and a lot of those businesses. Some of those are corporate or franchise too. So the lead time of getting a hold of them is going to be every bit of 6 months.
And Charles, remind us again why we're doing this change.
Well, mainly because Laguna Heights is the force main that they're all tied to, and we're going to be doubling the size of that lift station with Bahia Point coming in. And when you have that change in the back pressure, your pumps are gonna have to get stronger. They're gonna have to basically upsize all their pumps if they want to stay connected to that main because their conditions are changing. And I mean, that could run, 20, 24,000. But by giving them the ability to just have their service line tap into the main, the gravity main, that would reduce their cost.
We don't have any more maintenance in the future.
Going forward, yeah. It's a big
Right.
savings.
Right. And then I just attached some environmental, but I mean, it's just, that's the reason why they haven't approved planning is because environmental is still pending responses from all the agencies. That sums up, I guess, the lift station update. The next item on the agenda is our final revenue report. It's of course, the wastewater components. Let me scroll down a couple more pages. Yeah, this is just a one-page summary. I did receive the actual report after board packet went out, so I'm reading through it right now. But this sums up the work. We got our remaining lift stations that are pending rehab and replacement as well. And then our Isla Blanca wastewater plant assessment, we're mainly getting that headworks and improving our process for returning the sludge and with a new pump station. And then Andy Bowie is another option where we had a Great Wolf that Hubert put on site, and they're willing to donate that equipment. And and they've all actually they responded where they would like to offer some electrical structural design experience to help showcase that job if we proceed with putting new headworks there at Andy Bowie. So that's just basically the three projects that are going to be discussed here in this revenue report with costs associated with planning budget building. So I don't know if there's any questions on that, or you can jump to the next one. And if you want to scroll down to Bahia Point. So we have received the plat. And this might be a whole lot going on, but it's essentially this is the full subdivision for what they're planning to build. They're
How
looking
many
at,
lots?
yeah, there's 302 lots, and then that reserved for an apartment complex. So that's basically where we're at. And phase one is going to be the first 74 lots, which is the entire length of Pennsylvania Avenue, from our water tower property over to the school district fence. And so, I mean, they're already out there with equipment, building the subdivision, trying to get the plat through the city approved as quick as they can, and so they're looking forward to getting moving on this. I think the sales team is finished up in Bastrop, and then they'll be down here starting the site. So that's basically where the subdivision is sitting right now. And then as far as we have a portion inside the district and outside the district. So on the detail on the following two pages, we have that line there defined. So if you see where I highlighted in yellow, everything from Pennsylvania to that yellow line is already inside the district. So they just standard new connections. We don't have to go through an annexation process. And when you get to the back half of the subdivision, that's the part that's going to have to go through annexation. And then, so that just pretty much gives you where the line's sitting, where we have our district boundary dedicated by meets and bounds. And then, we scroll the next page, kind of see where it scrolls on to the eastern half of the subdivision. And so that's basically where the line's
So basically, a third of it is outside of the district, kind of.
Yep, exactly. And then, that sums up the engineer's report. Unless there's any other questions.
Thank you, Charles. Let's move along to item 8. Consider an award professional engineering design bid and construction phase services for water plant number 1 clarifier rehabilitation project RFQ number WW-20-04-01.
All right, and on this one, we did receive 5 proposals. I went ahead and gave the cover letter so you can kind of see a profile of each firm that submitted and expressed interest in the project. I think we had a good, very positive meeting with our professional services committee, and we are recommending award or to enter into negotiations with Sigler Winston & Greenwood to award this project.
Questions, comments?
Any questions?
It is a RFQ bid. It's an action item.
Having no questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Approval by Mr. Avalos, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move along to item number 9, Director of Finance report. Thank you.
So now that we have a complete month of customer bills since the beginning of the pandemic that reaching our area, I just wanted to give you an update on the district's finances. Bills for the South Padre Island just went out on Friday, so I've been spending the last few days analyzing the numbers and the trends, and so I wanted to discuss that today. So the two most significant dates to remember regarding our finances are March 16th, the city of South Padre Island declared a local state of disaster. And on March 25th, Cameron County issued the mandatory shelter-in-place order. So go to the next slide.
Still a little premature for you to say the numbers change. But go ahead.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. Still
Yes. So these are early indicators. So these are our revenues that we're billing our customers. Right? No. Like I said, the bills just went out on Friday, so that they didn't make it into your packet. Yeah. So these are the numbers that I've been working on Monday and Tuesday and today. So so first, let's look at give you some context by looking at what happened in March. So comparing utility bill revenue to March of last year, we see that cycle 1, which is Laguna Vista and Laguna Heights, from February 10th to March 10th, had an increase of 25%. Then in cycle 2, Port Isabel, from February 20th to March 20th, had an increase of 4%. And cycle 3, South Padre Island, from February 30th to March 30th, had an increase of 15%. So total water and wastewater revenue for March was up 14%, or 104,000. Now, comparing April, now you'll start to see the effects of the shelter-in-place order. Cycle 1 from March 10th to April 10th had an increase of 39%. Cycle 2 from March 20th to April 20th had a decrease of 2%. And cycle 3 from March 30th to April 30th had a decrease of 18%. So total water and wastewater revenue for April was down 5%, or 39,000, as compared to the prior year. So normally the month of April brings in more revenue than the month of March, except in years where the Easter holiday falls in March.
What about collections?
So yes, I'll talk about collections in just a second. Yes.
What would you attribute cycle 1's billing, 39% increase, whereas cycle 2's shows a negative?
Mm-hmm. Well, cycle 1, I would attribute that to cycle 1 being mostly a residential area. There's very few businesses in that area, so people sheltering in place would be home a lot during the day. Their kids are not in school, so the kids are also at home, and that's what I attribute that.
Laguna Vista, it's primarily all residential too.
Mm-hmm. So that's Laguna Heights and Laguna Vista saw a definite increase. So if you go to the next slide. if you look at the next slide, let's look at a little bit of different customer classes. So when we look at last year, this would be what would be a typical year. You see the different trends by different types of customer classes. And you see normally April is higher than March. And you see the top line, which is residential customers. We normally see an increase in April.
Eddie, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt real quick. Is this adjusted for the increase in our rates or not?
No, the last year, no, this is not adjusted for the increase in the rates.
So isn't is there anything that tells us just how much water is being used? Because I mean, it's hard to compare this versus last year because it's, we're trying to balance out the fact that, well, there's higher rates on all this stuff too, isn't there?
So I guess you're wanting
Yes.
to know the gallons pumped from the river if you're gonna start from there.
Yeah, I mean,
we
don't know.
The treated rates, the numbers.
Yeah, I didn't bring the consumption numbers today, but we can definitely look at those next meeting. I can have those.
What really would seem to me, if we want to know how much water is being used, is our consumption and or our collectibles. If we're worried about how much money we have, this is just our expected revenue, but it's not our actual collections, right?
Correct. This does not include corrections. This is billed revenue.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for interrupting. Keep going.
No problem. So you can see hotels is a little bit higher in March than April, but commercial accounts go up, and everything else remains relatively stable. So if you look at the next slide, you'll see the ones that we can see were definitely affected most significantly. Hotels were down 54%. Restaurants down 39%. Single meter condominiums, so that would be like the high-rise towers, down 31%. Commercial customers down 25%. And then residential customers had an increase of 26%. So this was just the early indications that I have at this point. Next meeting, I'll bring you another update. We'll have more numbers. I'll have some projections for you for the rest of the year as well. But I just wanted to give you the latest information that I have available.
At the next meeting, please, I need to see it printed. I can't read any of that.
Oh, we understand that. He didn't have the results.
No, I'm just saying,
But
the next
we are gonna
meeting.
bring it at the next board meeting. I just wanted to show you the update that we have on the cycle 3 is the one that's down 18%. So that goes to show us that the businesses are the ones that are affected at that point because everything was closed.
Mhm.
But it doesn't
Cycle
look
3 is
drastic
island.
yet.
Cycle 3 is the island, cycle 1 is Laguna Vista, Laguna Heights. Then again, cycle 2 is Port Isabel. Mostly the residential are always up.
Jason.
Commercial, go ahead. Jason?
Can I interject for a moment? First, I just want to say thank you for providing this information. I can tell that you've done a lot of work on it. And now the only thing that I would add, I like how you compared it to last year, but to Adam's point, somewhat an apples to oranges comparison. What I would like to see is when we made this year's budget, we expected X amount of revenue. So as we've already got 5 months of revenue, we can project what we need to make up on the back end of this year. I'd really like to see, we had projections for what we felt April, May, June was going to bring in, being the peak seasons. Where are we at in comparison to what we anticipated from a revenue standpoint? And then that, I think, will give us some information to help us adjust our budget accordingly. I don't want to get to the back end of this, third quarter or even end of year where we're reeling in the slack. that was kind of my intention of getting some financial reports. But I think we should kind of compare it to, hey, we were expecting to make this, and this is kind of where we're coming in. And then look even further. These are suggestions that maybe we can, table or kick down the road for saving some money internally. That's all I wanted to add.
Yes, that's exactly what I plan on bringing it to the next meeting. I just wanted to give you a detail to tell you the story of what's happening right now that we can see, and I'm going to work on those projections for the next meeting, the next presentation.
And you did a great job, by the way. And this is great information. I like the way you laid it out. It tells a great story. Thank you for your efforts.
Also want to mention that as Dr. Alon was mentioning, yes, there does continue to be uncertainty around our accounts receivable and collections of those customer payments, especially since we're not penalizing customers nor disconnecting service for non-payment. At this time, there's no indication that that's definitely going to be a problem, but we are closely monitoring that. Overall, to me, these are very positive indications. It's definitely not as negative as I expected it to be. It's not as severe as I thought. So I'm not recommending any drastic cuts at this time. So we'll continue to look at it, and I'll bring you more information next time. Thank you.
Again, we'll be looking into bringing some options on the other said question that Sharkey had mentioned on relief of customers. There are options out there, but we'll bring all the information at the next meeting. The one that we're not going to have a workshop on, I'll bring it up as a regular meeting. And we'll be working on that too.
Hey, I just had a general question on the negative investment earnings. What do you attribute that to?
Or where are you looking at? You're looking at.
I'm sorry, I moved on.
The next agenda item, the quarterly investment report. Is that what you're looking at?
The financial report.
Oh, item 11.
Yeah, I'm a little ahead. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, next is the quarterly investment report. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
So that's all I have for the financial update. I also want to mention that we, since we postponed the bond election, there was a requirement that we had to advertise and place notices for our customers, both on our website and at the entrance to our building. We fulfilled that requirement, and so that's done. Just wanted to report that to you. And so that concludes the Director of Finance report. Move on to
Moving on to item 10. Consider and discuss for possible approval the quarterly investment report for the quarter ended March 31st, 2020.
Yes, for March, the interest rates were continuing to drop. This was one of the measures that the government took to help the economy, dropping interest rates, making it easier to borrow money. And so, yeah, that return on investments is gone down drastically, and it's going to continue to go down for the next few months. So that's just the way it is. Our interest revenue is going to take a hit because of the lowering of the interest rates from the Fed.
Comments, questions? Is there something that we can do to try to maybe move the monies around or something? Talk to our
Yes,
counselor about that?
I do have additional, I'm gonna put an additional 500,000 from our operating account, which is earning the least amount of money. That's where we pay our normal bills out of. I'm gonna take an additional 500,000 out of there and put that into a CD, just to move it into a little bit higher interest earning investment.
Questions, comments? This is an approval item.
Is this an action item?
Yes,
Yes.
it's for you to approve.
Motion for approval made by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Avalos. All those in favor? They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Item 11, consider and discuss for possible approval of the financial reports for March 2020.
We're looking.
Motion for approval made by Mr. Houston,
Second.
second by Mr. Avalos. All those in favor? They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move to item 12, consider and discuss for possible approval of backup generator for the main office. Motion to table by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor? They are. None opposed. Thank you. Let's move along to item 13. Consider and review expenditures from April 16, 2020 through April 30th, 2020. Acknowledged by Mr. Houston.
Second.
Acknowledged by Mr. Avalos. Have all those acknowledged? They have. Thank you. Moving along to item 14. Executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, at sequence under Section 551071, consultation with attorney. Item A, update on land swap between City of Port Isabel and Laguna Madre Water District at Little League Maintenance Yard. Item B, update on FEMA related to Hurricane Dolly 2008 payment plan, recoupment funds and requests. Need a motion to go into executive session at 6:22 p.m. Motion made by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor? For an executive session, are we taking a little recess or do we keep on going?
Really roll it.
Huh?
Let's go.
I think we should go.
Okay, let's keep on going. I ask those not involved if they could please excuse themselves from executive session. So we need a motion to come out of executive session. Yes. Motion to come out of executive session made by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor? They are. Item A, no action. Item B, no action required. Need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Item 15.
Motion.
Motion made to adjourn.
No, I motion.
6 p.m. Yes,
I want to make sure there's evidence I was here.
yes.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:26. Thank you everyone for your time. Wishing everyone a healthy, safety, happy recovery, success, and everything going forward.